What does it actually mean to win a fight? I'm not talking about throwing punches. I'm talking about the fight for control. The fight for respect. The fight to prove you're not the problem. Because here's what nobody tells you when you turn 40. The most powerful move you can make, the move that gives you total victory, is refusing to play the game at all. But we don't do that, do we? We still let our 25-year-old ego write checks our 40-year-old life can't cash. We still think winning means proving we're right, proving we're strong, proving we won't be disrespected. And that's exactly what they're counting on. Today, I'm breaking down a documented case, not theory or real situation. A man walks into a hotel bar. He runs into his toxic ex-girlfriend and her new partner, a senior attorney with a god complex. The attorney tries to bait him into a physical confrontation. And what happens next isn't about revenge. It's about power. We're looking at this through two lenses. First, narcissistic triangulation. How manipulators use competition to feed their ego. Second, the dichotomy of control. What you can actually control in a rigged game. Let's get into it. The jazz piano was too loud. David was sitting at a dimly lit hotel bar, waiting for a client meeting. The air smelled like expensive whiskey. Dark wood, low lighting, the kind of place where professionals decompress after brutal weeks. And then he saw her, Sarah, his ex, standing near the entrance with someone David recognized immediately. Julian, Sarah's old boss from the law firm, senior partner, the guy everyone whispered about. Not because he was good at law, because he was good at control. The kind of man who treated junior associates like his personal congregation. Grooming behavior disguised as mentorship. David's stomach tightened. He looked down at his drink. But Julian had already seen him. Stop right here. Notice the setup. David didn't go looking for this. He was minding his own business. But conflict doesn't ask permission. It finds you when you're vulnerable, when you're alone, when you're not expecting it. And Julian? He's already scanning the room, already looking for opportunities. That's what narcissists do. They don't just live in reality, they manage it like a stage show. Julian walked over. Slow, deliberate. Sarah stayed back, watching. Julian smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. He adjusted the cuff of his watch, some Swiss thing that probably cost 15 grand. A small gesture, but intentional. A reminder of status. He leaned against the bar next to David. David. His voice was quiet, polite, almost friendly. I've heard stories. Sarah mentioned you, of course. But you seem harmless enough. The words hung there. Harmless. Not good to see you. Not how have you been. Harmless. David felt heat rising in his chest. His hand tightened around the glass. Julian smiled wider. I hope there's no bad blood between us. I mean, Sarah and I, well, we just clicked, you know? Sometimes that's how it happens. David said nothing. His jaw locked. Julian tilted his head. You understand, right? Watch what just happened. Julian isn't trying to have a conversation. He's probing, testing David's frame. He's using language that sounds reasonable but is designed to degrade. Harmless. You understand, right? This is classic narcissistic provocation. He's not looking for a fight. He's looking for a reaction. He wants David to get loud, to get angry, to lose control. Because then Julian gets to be the calm, rational one. The one who tried to be civil while David lost it. He's setting a trap. And the bait is David's ego. David's 25-year-old self would have put Julian through the wall. No question. The disrespect, the smugness, the way he kept touching that stupid watch, it was all designed to provoke. But then David saw something. Over Julian's shoulder. Sarah, standing about 10 feet away. And she was smiling. Not a big smile. A small one. Tight at the corners. She was watching. Waiting. Enjoying this. And in that moment, the anger didn't just cool, it evaporated. It was replaced by something sharper. Clarity. This wasn't about him. This wasn't about Julian. This was a performance. For her, Julian needed David to react because Sarah needed to see men compete. She needed validation that she was worth fighting over. And Julian needed to feel powerful by degrading someone in front of her. They were feeding off each other. And David was supposed to be the fuel. Right here. This is the shift. David sees the game. Not just Julian's game, the whole system. Sarah isn't an innocent bystander. She's participating. An enabler isn't always the main abuser. They're the one who keeps the game alive by looking away, minimizing, or secretly enjoying the chaos. She set this up by bringing Julian to a place she knew David frequented. She's watching because this is her supply too. This is narcissistic triangulation. It's a manipulation tactic where a narcissist positions two people against each other to create competition. The narcissist stays in the center, feeding off the conflict. They feel powerful because people are fighting over them or because of them. The trap isn't the physical fight. The trap is the ego fight. David took a breath. He looked at Julian. Really looked at him. Julian was still smiling. Still waiting. David leaned in. Close enough to smell the whiskey on Julian's breath. Close enough that his voice wouldn't carry. He smiled. His own smile. Calm. Almost amused. That's funny, David said quietly. Sarah used to say the same thing about you. Julian's smile froze. David stood up. He pulled a 20 from his wallet and placed it on the bar for his unfinished drink. He didn't rush. Didn't look back at Sarah. Didn't check if Julian was following. He just walked out. This is the win. David didn't beat Julian in the traditional sense. He didn't fight him. Didn't yell. Didn't defend himself. He made the entire interaction irrelevant. By walking away, David took all the power with him. Julian got nothing, no conflict, no drama, no validation. Sarah got nothing, no competition, no proof of desirability. And David? David kept his peace, his dignity, his time, his energy. That's the only victory that matters. Months later, their relationship blew up in predictable fashion. It didn't matter. The real ending was that night at the bar, when David stopped playing their game. David's story isn't about him outsmarting Julian. It's about him refusing to be Julian. Because here's what's actually happening in situations like this. Narcissists, people like Julian, live in a world of constant status checking. They need conflict to feel powerful. They need to see people react to feel relevant. And they especially need to win in front of an audience. Sarah, the enabler, needs to see men compete for her to feel valuable. She needs triangulation. She needs drama. Without it, she has to face the reality that she's in a relationship with someone who grooms subordinates for supply. By grooming, I mean slowly testing and crossing boundaries under the cover of mentorship to see who will tolerate more and more. David's refusal to participate collapsed the entire structure. He didn't give Julian the fight. He didn't give Sarah the show. He made their game irrelevant by simply walking away. Let's name what this is. Narcissistic triangulation. The narcissist stays in the center, feeding off the conflict. They feel powerful because people are fighting over them or because of them. Julian needed David to lose control. Sarah needed David to care. Neither got what they wanted. Here's the philosophy underneath this. Stoics call it the dichotomy of control. You can't control what Julian says. You can't control what Sarah thinks. You can't control how they see you or what they want from you. The only thing you control is your response. David didn't waste energy trying to change their minds or prove his worth. He focused on the one variable: he had total power over his own actions. That's where real strength lies. Not in dominating others. In mastering yourself. If you're dealing with this kind of dynamic, here's what you do. 1. Recognize the frame. When you feel sudden, intense anger or the need to prove yourself to someone, stop. Ask yourself if this is your emotion or a reaction they've engineered. Narcissists are experts at making you doubt yourself and then offering themselves as the solution. Don't take the bait. 2. Redefine walking away. In your 20s, walking away looks like defeat. By your 40s, it's just risk management, cutting positions that only drain time, energy, and reputation. Treat your peace as a finite resource, not a mood. Stop spending it on people whose only currency is drama. You don't negotiate with people who only feel tall when you're on your knees. You just stop showing up to their game, and that's how you step out of the ego trap for good.